Hello everyone. In this tutorial, I will show you a workflow that keeps the scale of the file that you bring from AutoCAD to Illustrator. There are two major ways to bring AutoCAD file into Illustrator. One is through exporting to PDF, and the other is downsave AutoCAD to an earlier version and open it directly in Illustrator. The first way keeps an accurate scale, but does not preserve layer information. If your file has a lot of layers, it's going to be cumbersome to separate the layers manually. The second way keeps the layer information, but so far we tested on many computers and it seems that there's an unresolved error when importing to Illustrator regarding the scale. Even if we set the scale correctly in AutoCAD, the scale of the drawing we bring directly into Illustrator is always off by some percentage. The percentage even varies each time when a file is imported. To make precise drawings, here we will solve the problem by rescaling everything using a reference rectangle created by the command MVSETUP. Now I will show you the complete workflow. Here is the file I want to further edit in Illustrator. I want my scale to be 1 inch equals 80 feet. In the model space, type MVSETUP and press enter. Click No for Enable Paper Space. In Enter Units type, select Architectural. A list of example scale factors show up. Find the scale you want the model to be exported at and enter the number in the parentheses. If the examples do not include the scale you want to use, do a simple calculation like this. As an example here, the scale I'm using is 1 inch equals 80 feet. It is the same as 1 inch equals 960 inches, which is 1 to 960. So the scale factor should be 960. Enter the paper width and paper length of the paper that you plan your drawing to be plotted on. Here I want my drawing to be plotted on a letter size paper. So I'll enter 11 inch as my paper width and 8.5 inches as my paper height. A rectangle appears at the 0, 0, 0 coordinate over here. Keep this rectangle in a new layer that only has this rectangle because you'll need to turn it on and off often. Go to Layer Properties Manager and create a new layer. I'll name my layer Paper. Set a distinct color for this layer. I'll choose purple color. And then move this rectangle to the new layer I just created. Move the rectangle to the place where it encloses the part of the drawing that you want to export. So here I want my drawing to be around the middle of the paper. What you see here now is how it looks like when you export the drawing to the paper. Go to Layout and set up the paper size of your drawing. Right-click on the Layout tab and go to Page Setup Manager. Modify the paper size of your drawing. So here I'll choose letter size and click OK. So the paper size should match the setting you define under the command MVSETUP. And now let's change the scale. Double-click the viewport and choose the scale. So here we don't see the scale we want to use. So I'll go to Custom and add in the new scale. My scale is 1 inch equals 80 feet. So one paper unit will equal 960 drawing units. and I'll choose the scale I just added. Now pan your model to have the paper rectangle overlap with the white paper space. So here you see I am making the purple rectangle overlapping with the white paper space. And now I'll turn on the scale lock so that nothing can be changed over here. Now go to AutoCAD icon and click Save As. Let's rename it as 2010 because we need to downsave this file to the 2010 version. Click Save. Now we go to Illustrator and click Open and find the downsaved file we just saved. In the pop-up option window, under Artwork Scale, select Scale by 100% and enter 1 unit equal 1 inches. And double check that the layout under Options displays the name that you worked on in AutoCAD, and keep Center Artwork checked. Now let's adjust the paper size. Go to Document Setup, Edit Artboards, and I'll adjust my paper size to 8.5 by 11 inches. So the paper size here should also match your AutoCAD layout paper size. If we go to Layers panel, we can see all of our layers are here. And so click on this purple rectangle over here. This is the rectangle we created in the paper layer of AutoCAD. Here I'll delete all the other rectangles that are not the purple rectangle, so that it's easy to rescale. So now let's check what the scale is right now. Click on this 80 feet by 80 feet square I created in AutoCAD. So if our scale is 1 inch equals 80 feet, the rectangle should be the size of 1 inch by 1 inch on paper. However, as we see it here, the rectangle is actually 0.9615 inch by 0.9615 inch. This means that our drawing is currently not at the correct scale. It is usually off by a little bit, so we need to rescale everything so that your drawing is at the correct scale. Select all line works in your drawing by typing Ctrl and A. Move everything so that the top left corner of the purple rectangle overlap with your artboard. Now rescale everything using this rectangle as the reference. Click on the lower right control corner and hold Shift at the same time to rescale. Stop as you see the word intersect pop up. Now let's check the scale again. Click on this 80 feet by 80 feet square. As you see right now, the size of the square is 1 inch by 1 inch. So our drawing is at the correct scale right now. We can now adjust fill, stroke, and color of each layer to create hierarchy and legibility. This workflow is very convenient for bringing in new line works from AutoCAD to Illustrator. As you update your AutoCAD drawing, this workflow helps you update your Illustrator drawing easily. You don't need to export every time when you update line works in your drawing in AutoCAD. To do this, I'll first add some new drawings in my AutoCAD file. I just added two squares in my AutoCAD file. One is at 160 feet and one is at 320 feet. So I'll select all the line works that I want to bring to Illustrator and select the rectangle on the paper layer. And type Ctrl+C to copy. Now go to Illustrator, add a new layer, and I'll rename it as New Drawings. Type Ctrl+V to paste. Do not click yet and keep everything selected. Rescale everything as before, using the rectangle as the reference. I'll rescale it so that the rectangle overlaps with my artboard. Now your new line works should be at the same and correct scale as the rest of your drawing. Ungroup them by right-clicking and select Ungroup. Also note that new line works do not keep the layer information, so you will need to separate them into layers using Select Same and change their layers. I'll select the same stroke color. So currently I only have one square, but as your drawing gets complicated, this is helpful to separate them into different layers. Now my new drawings are in their own separate layers.